I think I'm ready. Let's go. There we are. Posted that. How is everybody doing? Welcome. It should be out. There we are. We have a few tracks still left from the last feedback stream where we didn't get around to doing everything. But first, hello everybody. Welcome to the stream. I hope there's some people joining in today as well. Obviously Sunday is much more people usually. Hello Klaus. 3RVNO, welcome. See Brucio, how are you doing? I'll let it wait for a little bit for people to join, for people to see that I'm live. I also posted in Discord, of course. The bot needs to wake up. Let me minimize this, that I can use this. Wait. I need to just check stream elements. See if the bot goes online. NY UK, how are you doing? Zenline, welcome. Chatbots. Right? Is there a way to see? I don't know. It's not telling me that I'm live yet, so it hasn't detected it yet. Jonossi, welcome. Nordic, welcome. So I'm just going to start. I don't know if Virtual Instinct is here, but we'll have to watch back the stream. Did you learn music production at university? I did go to university for a year. I did a master's degree in music engineering for a year, but I dropped out to do music full time. So not really, to be honest. I didn't know you did these streams. Normally I do them on Sunday, but last Sunday I had some connection issues. So yeah, I'm just kind of catching up here. Anyway, this is going to be Psycho Journey 150 BPM Final Project Master by Virtual Instinct. And the track has been removed. Okay, so I cannot react to him. So a lot of the tracks are already removed and stuff like that. Because it was supposed to be Sunday. So there's a few tracks that we cannot maybe play or that we cannot find. We'll just have to go to the next one then. And if the person comes back, then we will listen to it again. Sai, how are you doing? Welcome. Any other names? Not really. Okay, so the next track is Tesla Mad Hatter. Let's go.
Cup time. Stick it again. You're all mad. Thanks very much.
Nice clean kick and bass. There's already a lot going on here in terms of elements. I think it's a little bit too busy already. Cybernetics, how are you doing? Kev Human, welcome. I think here that old plug sequence should be removed so that the new melodic sequence can play here in full power. How can I send my track? You go into my Discord and then post in feedback on stream here, this channel here. The bot should awake.
Well, anyway.
Hopefully soon. And you can type exclamation point feedback and then it will wake up. I cannot turn it on manually. Okay, so we're going to go back in the same sound but just a different melody here. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of that. Maybe then change the sound also a little bit even. Yes, the bot is alive. Nice. Here we go. Nice new sound. Like this part. Overall though, I do think that your leads are a little bit on the loud side. They're kind of covering up the kick and bass a little bit too much, so turn them down like 1 or 2 dB. It's almost like the whole group, the whole thing, even some of the effects as well. Trackers obviously pretty damn fire. I agree, it's idea-wise it's a very, very good idea. A little bit more diverse sound design between the sections would be nice, because here again it's the same kind of lead, it's just playing a different melody. At this point I'm becoming pretty bored with this main synth playing, because it's constantly the same synth. Even this lead is very similar. It's a little bit more airy, a little bit more chorusy, and then there's the modulation on top, the flanger, I think. But overall, this is really coming back to the old lead again, in terms of the idea. It's nice to see that your kick and bass is cleaned up. Well done. I'll give you that. Here at this point I would let the new elements shine through. Now you have the old elements still on top of it, kind of taking away the spotlight here. This is really where a new lead just gets the full attention, and I would like to hear that in some other parts, like in the middle of that saw lead, because up until this point it has been the saw lead almost all the time. So structure wise there are some things that I would change. Also, as I said in the beginning, there's a few too many elements and it's hard to really listen to the track and say, okay, what should I listen to, which part? because there's like 3-4 things happening right from the beginning. Either way, that was Tisla with Mad Hatter. Really nice production, really well done, nice clean production. And next up is Nomad Digital, I Just Wanna. I hope he is in chat here too. I'm not going to wait for everybody to be in chat and show up. I'm just going to stream now and just go over all of the tracks that are there. I do think that this one is still available. Yeah, it is. So this is I Just Wanna by Nomad Digital. Vocals could be a little bit more stereo. This is nice. Very clean. Would I recommend M Auto Align? I personally don't use it, so I cannot tell. I don't know. Nice space there for the vocals. Strange effect here with a slight pitch altering thing. Still, I think it should be a little bit more stereo, the vocal. A little bit more stereo and a little bit brighter, I think. I don't think I'm a fan of this kick that is in there. It's like too boxy and a little bit too stereo. I know it's like a rumble kick, but it's all small details. The overall production is very, very good on this one. I do agree, yes. The mix is very, very well done on this one. Also not overly compressed, which is something you'll often hear with drum and bass. Very well done, very nice. That was unexpected. I didn't even expect this to be drum and bass, to be honest. I thought maybe like some progressive sidetrans, the way that the cover looked. But it's very, very well done. I really like it. Next up is Thai Beats with Leaf Sidetrans, E144 BPM. Feedback from my sidetrans song, Leaf as ALS project is uploading. I don't want that, but just the track. I don't know if you're still here, Lucio. Yes, nice. So this was still submitted Sunday, but we're just going over the things that were submitted Sunday. vibe, I think. Very mono sound. Like even this one has delay and reverb on it, but it's
Side of the leaf has a sticky feel to it.
kick and bass is also very mono and not very clean. You can see it's all like going through each other and it's not clearly defined where all of the sections are. I would also like to hear a little bit more click coming from the bass line. Like it's missing the tak. When I say the tak, I mean the transient. The tak is like the impact on the sound, right? Taka, 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 taka. That part is missing a little bit. I'm gonna get a copyright claim on that melody. In the feedback on stream channel. So the channel is not the feedback one. If you scroll down more, it's feedback on stream, right here. And you just drop your link right there. Honestly, I'm not a fan of the melody. I know it's like a remix of that, or not remix, but like it incorporates that stadium melody, right? I don't know the name of it. But I don't think it really works. And also when it comes to the mix here, there's no separation between elements. It almost feels like you decided to make everything equally loud. Here, the stereo that you're using on the vocals is too much.
Easily grown in many countries, including the United States. The plant can be identified by its sawtooth leaf.
Not a fan of that very strong sidechaining effect. Maybe it's even that you're not playing a note on the kick, but there's that one sequence that only plays on the bass. It does that on the bass itself while it not plays on the kick. I don't think I'm a fan of that. And mix-wise, there's still a lot to improve here. In the mix and also in the sound design of the kick and bass. The sound design of the kick and bass can be done a lot cleaner, in my opinion. And just the mix, what you want to do is you want to define a few levels, right? So the kick and bass is going to be the most important part. Kick is going to be slightly more important than the bass, and therefore its volume needs to be placed accordingly. It's not just the mids that are very crowded, in my opinion. Although I do agree that also the mids are very crowded. It's just everything, because everything is... It almost feels like what you decided to do is match everything towards the same level, towards the same loudness. And that's not really how to do it. Right, you want to set definition, but some elements are more important than other elements. The kick and bass is more important than some background riser, that kind of thing.
The underside of the leaf has a sticky feel to it. This archive is
Kind of a strange way to transition into a gallop bass here. Sudden stop of the delay. In my opinion, the most important thing here is the kick and bass cleanliness, cleaning it up, making sure that it has a transient. Yeah, those are the two main things. Maybe phase alignment, I don't know, I couldn't really tell throughout the waveform. And just overall, when it comes to structuring, I noticed that you're using this very long build-up after a very short section of the drop. That's a little bit strange. Usually the drop is like the longer section of the two. And I'll just also say that, as I said, I'm not really a fan of the melody. I don't really think that it fits the track well. I know it's supposed to be a remix, and in that case, obviously, just keep it in order to keep it a remix. But I'm not a fan of it personally. Anyway, all of the sound design is really nice, and the track overall works really well. It just needs, yeah, more mixing and just working on the details. There are some other songs from his EP, but if we have time, we'll listen to those. There are a lot more submissions already, so that's nice. We can just continue here. So this one we'll skip. His EP, we'll just listen to Acid Monkey now. Hopefully he is also still here. Let's see, are there a few new people? Build Your Dreams, welcome. And Side, welcome. Raphael, how are you doing? Welcome. I think that's all of the new people that joined in here. I hope that I'm not missing anybody. Anyway, this is Acid Monkey with Ritual. Not finished, but close. There's a few too many rhythms happening here, in my opinion. I really like the rhythm that you're setting up with the drums. That kind of thing. You can try to unify a few of the other elements to follow that rhythm. And then just the kick and bass just kind of starts. Not a fan of that. I'm also not a fan of your lack of cleanliness, of your lack of resampling. And I would even say that on the bass line like this, you could sterilize the bass a little bit and remove some of the highest frequencies from the bass, so that you remove that very high click. I always low pass at around like 8,000 Hertz, so 8 kilohertz, I would say. Hello, Rui. Or just send the link to my Discord. If you enter the Discord, you'll find feedback on stream and you can post your track right there in order to be placed in the queue. Sound design is really nice, really unique, I like it. To be honest, right here I'm missing a little bit the transient of the kick. it doesn't feel like it snaps through enough, and you can use a little bit of sidechaining in order to improve that. Which also you can just slightly increase the transient of the kick. The transient of the kick can be a little bit brighter in my opinion. When gaming stream, I don't think I'll ever do that. Oh, I'm lagging again. That's unfortunate. I hope that it's not as bad as last time. If it is, let me know. That sound just kind of comes in, that right thing. I'd maybe slowly fade that in. I noticed it with your last drop as well. The kick and bass just kind of appear. I think the kick sounds a little bit boxy too, in like the, I guess 150 to 200 area. We've heard this sound so many times now, it starts to become a little bit too predictable, because it's always at the same place. Maybe a different vocal sound in that one. Ah, the kick is also saturating. I think the kick and bass is a bit too saturated. I like your play of the stereo field here. That's really well done. I like that you're stereonizing your drums a little bit. As I said, I would also do that with your main bass line, and obviously also resample. Hear that same lead over and over again feels a little bit boring. I would place different one-shots here actually. Overall, the outro is actually very important, and I would play a little bit more with that, because it's kind of your send-off of the track when you're in a live set. And also at the end, obviously there's something that you can do with it, like having a nice long fade out, having maybe even a little section behind it, maybe a few chords, that kind of stuff. Machine is on fire. Which machine? It's not finished. Okay. Yeah, you did mention that, I think, right? Not finished but close. Yeah, but yeah, that would be something that you would spend a little bit more track on it. I mean the track, okay. I was like, are you seeing something that I'm not seeing from my position? There's something on the camera that is on fire. Anyway, next up is Rainy, and that's one of my students. Let's see what he sent. How can I play this? Ah, nice. So this is track ID 2 by AC Dime. Nice player with the rhythms. Wow. Very well done on the one shots. I really like this. Very nice and clean as well, your kick and bass. Always good to see a student of mine cleaning up their kick and bass well.
They classify 5 levels of the psychedelic experience.
I would look at those very low things that you sometimes see where it's the waveform is just like over a very long period of time just oscillating. I don't think you want that very low energy, like that's like 5 Hertz or something like that. You see that kind of wave there. I don't think you want that in your basses. Very good use of the stereo field as well.
But it makes this weird sound.
They classify 5 levels of the psychedelic experience.
See, are you going to go into a rolling kick and bass now? No. I do like this, the kick kind of doing more here.
Have you seen the one?
I like this. This is really good. I don't have much more to say. Like, this is everything you need to do in my opinion. I like the flow that came when that vocal just kind of really became big all of a sudden. That's a nice way to transition into a new section, which is essentially what you did there. Going back to that thing from the intro. This is a little bit confusing, this melody here. And this is, in my opinion, where the track should really start. This does sound really good. I really like this. Nice and clean.
But it makes this weird sound.
One small thing that I hear is that for a lot of the fills that you have, your drums continue. Like even here, you could technically stop it. For such a small fill, it's not needed. But I hear it in a lot of your big fills as well. And really when you're changing elements, and that's what you're essentially doing in the fill, from one section to the next, you're changing the elements that are playing. It's also nice to give a little bit of extra space to the listener to hear that, and taking away the drums takes away a lot of the energy, because that's a lot of high frequency stuff that is like really fast as well. So personally I would take away the drums or the top loop when I'm going into a fill. Just for that space of the fill, remove it and then... I feel like for this last part the track could have gone to a little bit more of a higher. It just didn't reach kind of the energy level again that I was hoping for. It feels like we're approaching the outro, but now it's going back up again. So what I essentially think is happening here is that the energy doesn't go up high enough, and then it drops down very far with the section that we just heard. And it's almost like, okay, we go to the outro and then it just goes up ever so slightly again, and it feels like it's never really reaching that high point now. It's staying very low because it doesn't have the full drums, it doesn't have too many elements, it does have a lot of high end. So here I would like to see a little bit more energy towards the end of the track, in the last 2 minutes I guess of the track. But overall I really like this, really well done with the production, really like the first kick and bass idea. Also the rolling kick and bass was okay. Obviously track, if you're doing sidetrends, you kind of have to have one. But a really good track. I really like it. Next up is Rob. Feedback for my side-up track. Would like to know your opinion about the EQ on this. Would be interesting. Dual synth _ 2.2.mp3. Very confusing name, but we'll take it. Nice atmosphere already with the background rain sounds. It's also raining outside here in Italy, so I'm getting a few extra.
Dread appears to be divided into two realms described by two different sets of physical laws. The quantum, which is immaterial, unified.
In my opinion, this vocal isn't coming through enough, and part of that is the mix. It could be a little bit louder. Not a fan of the sub being so loud. Kick doesn't really come through. The sub is too massive here. The kick is being completely pushed away by it. The other thing I want to say about that vocal is that production-wise, what you could do is just make some room by not having so many like high frequency elements. Not the really high stuff, not the really high end, but the high mids essentially. You could take some of those away in other elements just by making them differently, essentially not even EQing them. Also, that can be an option if you want to. But taking some away there means that the vocal has naturally more space to exist in. Yeah, I think this sub bass is too loud. I think the sub bass should roughly have the same level as this first harmonic here. So get it to this level here and then you should be okay. You just reference from there. Maybe a little bit higher, but not as high as you have it now. Definitely not. Hello Diablo. I do like your pitch bending that you're doing. It's a plucky bass, right? Dun, 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 dun. But it's still moving up and down, and it's kind of flowing up and down with like a pitch bend almost. I can hear empty power kit too. This is the first time we hear this idea, this theme. Maybe it's a good idea to use this a little bit more throughout the track, so that this becomes an established theme of the whole track, as opposed to just this part here. I do like this section, nice and soothing, nice and calming. Still, with the bass being so loud, I think it overpowers the track a little bit once it comes in. You can hear it how now the other elements are taking it back so much. Did I miss yours? I don't think so, right? Louis, where did you post? I don't think I'm missing anyone. We're going in order, by the way. So right now we're at Rob here, and then we're just going down the list here until we get to whatever track that is yours. I don't know which one it is. Is it this one? I don't know if I can play this one because it's probably copyrighted with it being a remix. Some nice variation in this track. I do really like it. I think you could do a little bit more with that break theme that you established. Now the guitars are coming back, I would maybe layer the vocal in there as well. A little bit more, with maybe a bit more delay and reverb. Yeah, like that. Yeah, so here it's coming back. I would do that also one more time in the intro, and then maybe somewhere in the first drop. Something like that, to just have that theme constantly going throughout the track, as opposed to just starting off from the sec or like the last break. You write the sci future. Do I plan on doing meme shorts? Yes. I mean the ones that I do where I have like another one person's intro, I'm just going to keep doing that because I think those are funny. I have a few more ideas that I want to try out, but that's maybe in the future. For now, though, I have a feedback stream to do. Doing more stuff, yes. Do I write sci future? I have no idea what that is. So no, probably not. Next up is My Heart by Ionic. Let's see. There we are. Hello, Davey. Welcome. Kick is lacking a little bit of mid-range punch here. Also, the vocals could be more stereo. I'm not a fan of the vocals continuing. I think that's it. I was listening to like, okay, what is breaking the rhythm for me? And there's, I think, just too much going on with those vocals constantly continuing overall. Like everywhere. Like, we've been listening to this vocal loop for most of the intro. Some part of the drop also has it, and now it's coming back again. There you have it again, in full view, or like in focus. I wouldn't play so much with one single element here. If you're going to have it in the breaks and the intro, I would remove it from the drop. Not a fan of this kick and bass. It's not really clean and the bass is too loud for the kick. The kick should be louder than the bass. In terms of genre, I think that this has some influence from artists like Gladde Paling, right? I don't know if you know them. If you're not Dutch, then you probably don't know them, but it does have some of those vibes as well. See, Klaus is already agreeing with me. Absolutely, he's saying. The kick and bass separated right there. No, it wasn't. I don't have the link open anymore, but it wasn't separated, I think, well enough. I can quickly go back for you. Yeah, the kick is being bled into here. I think this is the bass here and this is the kick maybe. Either way, it's not clean. And the kick also doesn't have a transient. Anyway, next track is Dead Fella. Would love feedback on stream, not sidetrends at all. Sample _7.mp3. Let's have a listen. It's just going to be this sample. Diablo, I have no idea what you're saying. Please keep it English. I'm only half Dutch, so I've not heard of them. Gladde Paling, it's like the meme music, right? The goofy ass beat, but then for like old school hardstyle almost. He said he wants to understand, but he doesn't know English. That's unfortunate. I'm sorry. How do all of you guys know Russian? There's some video game music this here. At some point I think a nice guitar on top of this in the rhythm with the bass. Strings are a little bit loud here, in my opinion. This is a track by that fella. Posted yesterday on the Feedback on Stream channel here. I agree, a little bit of extra punch from the low end of the kick would be nice, and the snare could have a little bit more power as well, a little bit less of that room feeding. There's the guitar. Now the guitar is overpowering the kick and the snares completely. The drums are really falling behind. You can also hear and see that there's some rumble in the low frequencies now. It is very loudly mastered for what it really is. Because knowing what your music is going to be, what he likes to do is he likes to storytell on top of this. So there will be lyrics all over this. And this is way too loud. You're not going to get the vocal on top of this if you're mastering this loudly. Here, once the guitar is playing, I think you should have less focus on the acid line too. Have that more in the background as well. I'm sorry to hear that, Diablo, but I don't speak Russian either, so I cannot help you either. A rock side trance for the next stream. It's a nice combination. I do really like it. Yeah, the kick should have more power here. I'm a fan of those pianos. Nice big reverb on them. You can still see that the low end is a little bit of a mess still, in that there's probably some bleeding, some elements that don't really need to have low end that still do. You can see all the rumble still being present here, right? Overall nice track. I did really enjoy that. Next up is here we have Virtual Instinct. That's why the first track didn't play. He just updated the track. Okay, so this is Psycho Journey by Virtual Instinct, and that we're already at the tracks for today, so that's nice. For those that don't know, this was supposed to be Sunday. Normally my feedback streams are on Sunday. It's very mono. It's completely mono. Why would you do it completely mono? I think this might be some export issue that you like accidentally set it to mono when exporting. If not, then I would make it stereo. Also, something that Eclipse says that I want to focus here is that when your kick and bass is already so loud in your like intro or the fill going up to it, it's not really effective anymore once it really hits. So I would lower that part by like 5, maybe even 10 dB, so that it gets a little bit of extra punch when it actually hits. There's nothing more mono in the universe than this. I agree, yes. It is fully mono. And I disagree with that. I think it's an export issue though, so I'm not going to chat too much about it. The rest of the mix is pretty good in terms of the overall balance. The overall spectrum as well. It's nice and bright. Going back full power. If you're going to go to that full power again from the kind of groove that you have there, what you can do is have the fill kind of continue all the way into the drums that play, because that kind of announces that you're going with the like full power idea, right? Because then it's power out of the fill all the way up until the first kick hits. Here there was that little pause of a beat, and if you add 2 more drum hits in there, I think that it would be a little bit more powerful, and therefore the flow would be maintained a little bit better. That's something to look in general in this track, is that the flow feels a little bit all over the place, and that it's constantly going up, down, and it doesn't really follow any kind of structure. Obviously in the leads that's not really what you're looking for. But I feel like in here the sequences, they're all kind of playing their own thing, not really doing anything cohesive. I've done that with PU meter mono. Yeah, of course, because that's the mono meter, and then it will also make the thing itself mono. It's one of the things that the Waves plugin does. That they have mono versions of all of their plugins. In my opinion, this part should also still have the hats, because this is very full in terms of the synths. Now you're going back to the hats. Bit of a strange choice here, because there's not much more that is being added here. Also, what I think is that this part is getting a little bit boring now. And specifically one of the things that was getting boring was the bass line. I think when it comes to the bass line, you're just using like one melody or just static. I would suggest going for like 2 or 3 melodies throughout the track. Keeping the same groove, but just a different thing so that it's a little bit more spicy. That's funny. People getting to parties from other people in my chat. That's nice. HD, how are you doing? Welcome. Overall, really nice track. I don't know if it was supposed to be a mono, but if that was an accident, then make sure to fix that because it doesn't really sound good in my opinion. Next up, we have Phenomenal by Rebirth. Let's have a listen to Phenomenal. Phenomenal, yes. I'm just going to go through them because I'm still behind a little bit. There's still a few more tracks that people posted. You can still post your tracks though. Not a fan of the bass line. It's a little bit too open in my opinion. And it has too much of a click. I like to low pass my bass line at around 8 kilohertz, and I would suggest that you do the same thing. Also make sure that you resample your bass line, because I don't think that this is properly resampled. I'm not a fan of just the pad in here, kind of playing. And that's very random, that sun offbeat part there. Very loud lead on top of it. The same thing over and over again. I don't think I'm a fan of that. I do agree, I do like the asset line. I'm just not a fan of that other lead. And I would love to hear a little bit more variety in this track. It feels a little bit too much the same because it's that same lead over and over again. Nothing changing. You could also remove some 500 Hz from your bass line. And your kick as well, actually. To get a little bit of a deeper feeling. I saw somebody suggesting that in chat as well. I think most people do it anymore. It is a good thing to do, yeah. It's maybe a good idea that I do a video on that, actually. Virtual recordings, welcome. Loving the new sample pack, the new preset pack, I assume. French Trap. Welcome. You have a check mark next to your name, that's funny. Never seen it like that. It's just the same lead over and over again. This is really getting boring, this track. Like that lead that is playing every other bar should play maybe for 16 bars, and then you should have a new section, and then you want to have new leads as well. Because this is just getting really, really boring at this point. You know what I mean? Okay, that just kind of happens. I didn't click anything. This is in the track. It just stops with one part and it just goes in a completely different part. I thought I clicked something by accident, but I'll play it again. It's also very loud, this track, right? You can see the way it's mastered, very loudly mastered. But that transition is very rough. Just kind of stops in the middle of nowhere. That the S line goes down for one bar in its filter cutoff, and then it just stops, and we go into this thing. Very, very rough. You need to do better there. My face of surprise. Yeah, for a moment I thought that I clicked something that I shouldn't have clicked, but that's actually just in the track. In my opinion, this break is now also way too long. It's getting boring as well. Because it's just the same thing over and over again. And then we just go into it full power. I don't like that. You should have a build-up, something that indicates that this is going to happen. And then you also shouldn't have this random drum arrangement here. Again, going back to the same synth, I'm not a fan. Yeah, it's transition-wise, this track is, I'm going to be honest, it's terrible. Things just kind of happen without any form of announcement, and that's not the way to do it. Because you want to ease the listener into what is happening in the track. You just go full power with all of the drums already starting. That's not something that you normally do. You have your kick and bass on your own and then slowly build up the drums over time. Honestly, it sounded like you took a breakdown from another track, repeated it 2 times, and then build your track around it. Like just have the kick and bass start at a random position and then go on for a random amount of time, because there's no fills in here either, it's just going. There's no risers, downlifters, there's no change in flow, change in energy level. It just goes on for a while. Reactor knows and stuff, thank you. Hola, como estas? Yeah, my channel is suddenly in Brazilian. Or Portuguese, I presume. Where can I send in a short track? !feedback will get you into my Discord server. And then you can post it right here in feedback on stream. If you are posting in other channels, I'm going to ignore that. Here again, no transition. Do you hear how there's just nothing there? There's just kind of a break and then suddenly the kick happens and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be dancing. Oh, okay. hope that's fine. Yes, of course. I'll definitely understand your Spanish, yes. Is it Spanish or Portuguese? I thought in Brazil they speak Portuguese, don't they? Or maybe it's in Argentina it's Portuguese. I don't know, I don't remember. I'm sure somebody will be very furious right now and tell me. There's too many things happening here. There's too many different synths. There's that atmosphere that doesn't really work here because it's very slow and the rest is very fast. Portuguese, yes. Then I was right. Nice. Let's check your kick and bass cleanliness. I think it can be better here. I think you can remove these last peaks here. I guess the kick is okay. But also here again, one of the recommendations that I can make is low pass your bassline a little bit at like 8,000. And also don't do those random offbeat parts in random parts. Create fills, not offbeat basslines. Brazil is the only Portuguese. Okay. So that makes sense then that Spanish is also like in that area. Who posted in stream discussion? Ah yes, if you're posting in stream discussion, don't post here. Post in feedback on stream. This is where you want to post your tracks. Not here, not in the normal feedback area. Right here. This is the right channel. I'll only listen to tracks from this channel here. Next up we have Not Tuned. Because I've said it many times, right? I'll just type. You have sent a remix bootleg. I cannot play a bootleg. I won't do that with the copyrights that you have. Writing on video ID. That's nice, thank you. Oops, sorry, perfect. Are you Godsent then? The Moments of Euphoria thing? Or is this... I don't know which one is your track, so you would need to tell me. Either way, we have another track before that. That's Music is Language 150, A minor, 24 bits by Not Tuned. Kick and bass could be a little bit cleaner. Overall, you could master this track as well. Just a little bit more of a fade on the bass line, I think. Resampling this and this part here as well. Because you can see this transient is being pushed by the last bass note. You'll send an original mix now. Okay, thank you. Just tell me which one I shouldn't play of the next tracks. Because I don't know what your name is in Discord. I do like this speed. I don't mind it being this fast. I mean, it's not even that fast, 150 BPM. I would just prefer it if you did master your tracks. Because the sound design is really good. It just doesn't come out too much because it's not mastered. I don't think I'm a fan of the melody here on every bass note here. My track is Hypoxia, New Form of Life. This is a remix then. Right, so I need to skip this and just listen to your new track, I guess? Or did you update this link here? If this new link is... If that new link is... Or if that link is okay, it's updated. Okay, perfect. Then I'll just click that one. Thank you very much. I think the kick has a little bit too much like slap to it, like zap almost, like a laser feeling. I think you can make the transient a little bit shorter, or that first pitch modulation, just push it a little bit more towards the start of the kick. So it's not as choo choo sounding, but more like a punch. I would also like a breakdown in this track, to be honest. I like how unique all of the sound design is. What I don't like is the way that you're arranging it and that everything is always happening at the same time. Like all of the sounds are very similar. It would be nice to just have a section of the track where it's just a completely different synth and then a few of the main synths kind of stop. A few of the traditional synths that you have everywhere. Right, you can still hear that this has some of the same sound design as other parts of the track in there. And it would be nice to have one or two sections in the track where it's just really a unique synth playing more or less on its own. Maybe some background supporting elements, some like one shots on top of it. But other than that, it's just this one unique lead playing. That way you're going to have a little bit more separation and a few more unique moments in your track. Because right now I just feel like this is 7 minutes of just the same sound over and over again with minimal fills, minimal changes. And I know that's kind of like your traditional psytrance way, the more psychedelic way of doing things, but I think that this is a little bit too much, right? Just almost no change throughout the track. A little bit more progression would be nice, in my opinion. But overall, very nice sound design, very well done with the mix. I would love it to be a little bit louder if you master it. But yeah, next up we have Hypoxia and Technical Intelligence, New Forms of Life. So this is not going to get me in any copyright issues. This is nice and loud. I like it. Some crazy sound design going on here right at the start. if you're gonna use vocals like this, make sure that you leave a little bit of the high frequency in terms of space and the other elements, so that the sibilants can come through and you can understand the vocal a lot better. Because it's now hard to understand what the vocal is saying, and you can keep a little bit of extra space for the vocal for that to be a lot easier. Also, the vocals can be louder. Because now we have vocals that we know that are there, but you cannot hear what they say whatsoever. Right, you hear that there's this one little part here, and we don't exactly know what the vocal says. So that's not the point of vocals. The vocals are there for storytelling. Anyway, kick and bass seems resampled, so I'm a fan of that. Overall, its tonality is really good. Its overall sound. Hypoxia is going to play at my party right after me. Very nice. It's a good sound, I like it. I'm just not a fan of his vocal mix. I think that's a little bit messy there, the pitch stop that you have there. You can clean it up a little bit by just filtering it out, even like low pass filter that closes on top of it. This is nice and energetic. I also liked how the vocals were placed in there. I'm not a fan of all the 8-bar switch up things. I would make those earlier 16 bars and then maybe a shorter breakdown or shorter intro if you need it in terms of time. Usually I like to work in sections of 16 bars, not 8 bars. After the track is done, can you elaborate further on what you mean by the kick and bass being resampled and why you like it? I can go over that real quick, yes. Here also, you can low pass all of the atmospheres and the pads that you have here by a little bit so that vocal comes out a lot more. Here you don't have to because you're really mangling it up at this point. I like this. This is a good transition. Nice glitchy stuff here with the vocals. They're maybe a little bit loud, those vocals there, which is not something that you often hear me say, but it became a little bit too loud, I would say. The track stream is working nice, that's nice. Low pass the ambience, yes. So that you make space for the vocals. Here again, the vocals, you cannot hear what they're saying when all of those other elements are playing on top of it. Which is annoying because that's kind of the goal of vocals. I don't like this fake drop. I'm going to be that honest, just aesthetically I don't like it. It's a lot of times I hear it in your track, Raphael. little bit of stereo processing on the bass can be nice. But it looks nice and clean, so keep it that way. I think the open hat should probably come in after this fill here. Right here, this should be the place where the open hat comes in, because this is where the main energy is happening of the track. Right before there weren't any main sequences happening. So right here, when all of the sequences come in, you also have the open hat, and then it's just full power. Overall though, very well done in the sound design. Nice clean kick and bass. A few details to worry about, mainly the vocal mix. I would just leave a lot more space for your vocals. One of the annoying things of vocal mixing is that you're able to solo the vocals and hear the vocals outside of the context, and therefore it's easier to understand what the vocal is saying as a person that has listened to the vocals on its own and who has just worked on the project for a very long time. But you have to get into the headspace of an actual listener hearing the track for the first time. They need to understand what the story is about and what the vocals are saying if you have those spoken word kind of vocals in your track. Anyway, to quickly chat about cleanliness of kick and bass and resampling and all of that jazz, let me pull up a size scope and let's create an audio channel and a MIDI channel for kick and bass. I'm just going to try to do this as quickly as possible here. Oh, wrong one here. Just going to quickly make a kick and bass. Okay, so that's going to play. And I'll get one of my samples. I'll get a preset from my new preset pack. This is a very nice preset because it's completely clean automatically. I don't have to resample this patch actually. So this is going to be your kind of normal kick and bass. When you look at the kick and bass, what you'll see is that it should be all nice and clean, especially looking at the sum here, in that we have the kick as a waveform, and then the kick stops, and then there is the bass transient, and then the bass stops, and then there's the next bass transient. What you don't want to see is something like this, where it kind of continues in there. And the more that you have of this, let's just make a couple right here, a couple of different filters. You can kind of see that everything kind of continues into each other, right? There's this massive spike here from the last bass note kind of going into the kick and just completely messing up the kick transient right here at the start. It's just kind of pushing it up and then down and up again. You don't want that. So that's the kind of separation that we want to do in terms of resampling. The way that you normally resample is that you take one bass note. You can already see what kind of a tail it has because of all of the filters that we just added. You take that one bass note, resample it, so re-record it into audio, like this. And now you have your one bass note here, and you're just going to fade this out, and then you duplicate this over. And now make sure that you're no longer using any kind of filters or any kind of processing that involves changing the phase, because that's going to mess it up again. We do want to keep it clean, right? So we're cleaning it up, and that's what we want to keep. The reason why this is important is because if you don't do this, you lose a lot of the power of these transients and a lot of the separation in terms of their mix, and therefore it's all going to kind of smosh together like one big sausage, as opposed to it being separate things. And now you can hear the kind of punch that you get back, as opposed to this. Here it just kind of, whereas here it's nicely separated. So it has a lot more power. Each bass note, each individual hit has a lot more strength, so to say. So that's why we separate the kick and bass, that's why we resample, and that's why that's important. My massive video, my recent guide goes much more in depth. And if you get my latest preset pack, then you can get this preset, where if you don't do any processing on this preset, you don't have to worry about any of the phase issues. Because this will always be clean, the way that this preset is set up. That's just the way that I designed it. So you can also get my preset, and you then don't have to worry about it whatsoever. When would I do this? I would do this pre-mixing. You're going into the mixing phase with a resampled kick and bass. I would do it like that. And then in the mixing stage, it is important not to make big changes to it. Like as I said before, this thing is clean, this patch. But if I start to EQ it massively now, it's going to again go out of phase. Right, I can start to change the phase of it if I want to, even with some peaks. But if I say do something stupid like high pass it here, really close to it, you can see it just completely messes it up. So at that point when you're mixing, you don't want to do any filtering around, especially the low frequency anymore. So what you can do is, like I've done here, is I've just made a wavetable that I'm using, and that is containing all of the processing for it, and that's the way that this bass patch works. You can also use linear phase if you want to. You have to be careful with that because of pre-graining, so don't go and throw 16 linear phase EQs on there. Should the second bass note be aligned to the kick still? Again, funny thing here, in this case, the way that I'm aligning is I align on the transient, so I make sure that I can have a transient in here, in the sense that this kick isn't at a peak or at a trough here. So this is a trough, this is a peak. You don't want this spot to be right when the transient is supposed to play. So I have it so that there's a zero crossing here. And then my first bass note does not actually have a sub bass. So there's this one modulation in here that turns off the sub bass for this part here. So in terms of alignment, I don't have to do any alignment. Normally, you are right that you would need to do that. But this preset, again, is special. Again, it's part of my latest preset pack. There should have been a video out today, actually going over the preset pack a little bit. And there's a demo song as well to show off some of the different presets and stuff like that. So yeah, if you want a patch like this that just automatically arranges everything for you. Good selling point, yes. That's what I'm doing here. I'm doing marketing. Anyway, next up we have Cow with Strael Bora Free. Strael Bora Free. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but that's what it says. Let's see, can I play it from here? Yes. Lagging a bit. Oh. Didn't like that for some reason. I'll just open it up again. I think it's just yeah, it's just your track. It's just your track crashing my my Ableton. It's too good. Ableton tracks, feedback group. I mean, if it's set up so precisely, I can just go like this and then start again. Omnisphere samples. Too much sidechaining going on, in my opinion, on this track. And here again, cleaning up the kick and bass is a must. But I don't think you should be doing, especially on your atmospheres, that much sidechaining, because the atmospheres just kind of should continue, right? So this vocal should just be a background element throughout the whole track and not bump so much, in my opinion. What works better most of the time is something like a trance gate, because that adds some rhythm to the track. Here as well, the vocal just kind of sounds a little bit off to me. The same theme that we had in the intro. It would be nice to have a different idea here, kind of building on what you already had in the intro and not just kind of repeating the same thing. The melody is nice though. Yeah, this is actually like expanding on the theme. Maybe a little bit much in terms of bass. Could do with a little bit less sub bass. Would be nice to understand the vocal a little bit better, have some more high frequencies coming from it. It's kind of funny what happens when you have this pad in here. Because it's sidechained, it doesn't really have a good groove in my opinion to it. It's too aggressively sidechained, just like the vocal here. And that removes a lot of the power that the track actually has, because it feels very separated. And the kick feels almost like naked, in a way. personally, I would recommend against this much sidechaining. I'm not a fan of it, but it does help with mixing. It makes mixing easier, so I do get why people do it. But I personally just don't like the sound of it, and that's more important than the ease of mixing, in my opinion. Anyway, I am going to take a quick break. I know there's more people in line for the tracks to be heard, many more in fact, but I do need to take a quick break and listen to something else other than you guys' music. Anyway, I'm going to have you guys listen to one of my songs. I'm just going to go with the traditional one that you guys always like. It's always the same one, isn't it? But that doesn't really matter. Anyway, I'll be right back, and I hope you guys in the meantime enjoy the track.
fruit is in the social aspect, where you get to meet people and play them a game and have a fun, competitive game. You do the best you can, but if you don't win, you won anyway. Because when you lose, you win too. Because if you're paying attention, you learn stuff.
Omnisphere samples, yes. Indeed, I also use Omnisphere. I think you need that. I think you need to learn to use it properly. To be honest, I have in this project here, I'm not sidechaining anything. If I sidechain something, it's creatively or to clean up my kick and bass if I really need to. And sometimes in the mixing process, it's also nice to have like an LFO tool to shape, for example, a kick, something like that, but that's not really sidechaining. Here you can see another example of like a clean kick and bass. You can see it returns to the transient before it plays, also for the kick, right? So that just gives me a lot more space for the transient itself, in that this fade out here makes sure that the kick has the maximum amount of vertical space to play, because if you imagine this kind of continuing, it's going to push up this transient here and it's going to hit the mastering limiter, and that's not going to be good. This isn't mastered, by the way, this is a production project, so I still need to mix this properly and then master it. Do I use compressors as effects? I mean, I use a compressor if I need to for the mixing stage, but not really in terms of just inserting a compressor on somewhere, and mainly for like sidechaining. As I said, I barely sidechain unless I need to do it creatively, in which case I would use something like LFO tool. Anyway, next track is Side. Resonator goes burr, loud. Side here, by the way. Colorbase.mp3. I'm kind of scared, seeing as that you're saying that it's loud, but let's have a listen anyway. Hands on the volume knob. At this point I would also change the melody a bit to keep it a little bit more interesting of that main lead. Here I would then completely remove the main lead so that you can focus on that build-up. I like the sound of it. What I don't like is the lack of structure in there. I would use the different sounds that you had here to make more of an A-B kind of comparison. It feels like the placement is a little bit too random of the sound. Because now we're kind of like in a C section, which kind of works. But then I would do more like A-B, A-B with the first two sections. Overall though, very well done with the sound design. Does sound really, really nice. First time for me trying size, so I don't really know what I'm doing. I haven't spent a lot of time doing any mixing, but pointers are of course welcome. Oh, that was in reference of the last track, which I think we played and we set our things on. Next one is Moments of Euphoria by Godsent, and this is 148 premix. I don't know who sent this from my YouTube chat, but Godsent92 in the Discord. Looking at the waveform, this is going to be an aggressive track.
Since the dawn of time, all have submitted to one truth. Fate, moments of euphoria, sorrow.
I would make the vocals a little louder.
Fleeting in the face of destiny. Yet only the bold dare defy this rule.
It's not really coming out, and it is telling a story in this track, so.
Fleeting in the face of destiny. Moments of euphoria.
Kick and bass is nice and clean, I like that. I did see with the filtering that you had some cleanliness issues, so maybe make sure not to use too much resonance or something like that. I have a video coming up on kick and bass filtering as well. The bots should show up and yes, give you a link to my Discord, and then you just scroll down here, feedback on stream, and then you post your track right here in this list. I feel like the kick could have a few more dB, like 2 dB more volume. I feel like the pad that is under here has been the same for too long. Just that kind of nasally kind of pad that I hear. I would remove it in this space, seeing as you're also switching up the sound design to more FM style. I just completely removed that pad, that atmosphere in here. A little bit boring with your bass melody that's always the same thing. Maybe a slight variation every other time that it plays. Because that atmosphere has been in the track the whole time now, so it's really getting boring. Either change the atmosphere or just remove it in certain parts. That is really what I would do. I would just completely remove atmospheres in certain parts, and then you get almost automatically a little bit more of a gritty part to the track there as well. And also here in the break, it doesn't need that atmosphere, you just need some different atmospheres to keep it interesting. That filtering sounded really strange. Here also, this being the start of the track, I would, or the start of the new drop essentially, I would not yet have the atmospheres in here. Just leave the one shots that you have, the very cool sound design that you have, and then bring them in here. I am going to say that I don't like this bass melody here. Kind of just randomly switching keys.
I hope you're proud of yourself. Holy shit. This is genocide. What you're doing is wrong. Serial killer.
Also here, I think this track needs a few more fills and just a few more switch up between different sections, because this part has been going on for quite some time now. Consider removing the hats from this section to just get that glass through a little bit more on its own. Overall though, I really like your sound design, I really like your style. Very well done with the track. I would just spend a little bit more time on the details. Okay, next up we have Gian, or the Generalist in Memoriam. Let's see. Very dark start here. Okay, I'm not a fan of the kick and bass. First of all, I would clean it up and I would just get better kick and bass as well, do a little bit more processing on the bass. Of course, resample, as I said. I also feel like it could use a little bit more punch in this area here. Especially the bass. The bass is just lacking in terms of click. It doesn't really have that snap to it, that transient to it. Nice little fill there. It's a good way to transition into this new synth here. You could then play with it a bit more. because you specifically are going to that new sequence in the break, you can play throughout this part a bit more and have that be like the main lead for this section. Yeah, kick and bass needs to be improved massively. I do agree, yes. That's just YouTube auto or the SoundCloud autoplay. I don't like that. But that was the track. It just finishes there. There's no more track after that. Please ignore dirty kick and bass. I'm not going to ignore that. This is Mateus Z28011 force 2-first-part.mp3. That's the track name, and it's going to have a dirty kick and bass. So everybody noticed the dirty kick and bass. That's what he said. Thanks for the feedback. You're welcome. I hope it's helpful. Yeah, it does need a little bit of cleaning. Just remove that last going up here. It could also use a bit more processing. Right now you have it so that the phasing, you really get this peak out of there. But you can process it some more, and then you can probably turn up your bass as well. Check out my guide, by the way, if any of this kick and bass stuff is hard to follow. My kick and bass guide is going to explain everything that you need to know. Overall, I think that the kick and bass could have like 2 dB more volume as well. D_G.J. If you check out my recently released Ultimate Guide to Kick and Bass, then you will learn everything you need to know. It is 3 hours long, 3 hours 20 minutes, but it explains literally everything that you need to know to make a professional sounding kick and bass. Hello Black Marvin. Nice to see you here. Kick and bass lacks a little bit of synergy and glue. I do agree, yes. Overall, it's, as I said, it's a little bit quiet, the kick and bass. The bass in respect to the kick can also be turned up a little bit. That's why I said you could process it a bit more to change the waveform so you get a bit more headroom. I don't have the same issues with the atmospheres that we heard in the last track, because the atmosphere is constantly changing here, like you're using a couple of different sounds for your atmosphere. Which is also another approach that you could take. In the last track it was always the same path, I think, always the same sound, making the different atmospheres, but here there's a bunch of different ones combining into the atmosphere. Which is actually a really good idea, I really like that. Okay, I think here the track is not finished yet. You just need to fill in more elements. It also sounds like the offbeat bass note is a little bit more open than the other ones. Has that more open feeling? I don't know though. It's a bit hard to tell. Maybe it's an effect of the open hi-hat still being on there, something like that. Good evening, a little bit more eerie vibes for this one, hope you like it. It's the time, right? It's the time for Dark Side because it's Halloween. This is Klaus KRZOK, Dark Side Reloaded No Master. I like this idea for a kick and bass. Sounds very good. At this point the elements should start to come in more. More one-shots, more of that kind of stuff. Honestly, I would still play a little bit more with that old bass pattern that you have. Immediately going into the rolling kick and bass is not the best idea in my opinion. It is nice and clean. What I do think is that the bass line could be low passed at around 8k to not have that very aggressive, very high click there. Malogify, I know that you're always watching the stream because you're just always watching, lurking in the background. Just sometimes coming through with a nice statement. Very random statement usually. Either way, I do appreciate that you continue to watch basically everything that I do. Yeah, here you go back, right? So why not keep then the sliding kick and bass throughout the whole section? And then you can use maybe the second drop for the rolling kick and bass. And then you really have like nice separated two ideas. Usually the way that you'll see this done is that the second drop is actually using a slide bass or some kind of progressive bass, and then your first and third drop will be rolling kick and bass. A little thing here, your snare and your kick, you can see them summing together much louder than just the kick, right? So this is just the kick and this is the kick plus snare. I would remove the very beginning of the transient of the snare that is causing this major peak, because you're not going to need that much energy from both of the elements, so you can just remove the starting transient a little bit, maybe with a transient shape or something. Or even a fade sometimes, if you can fade really precisely, you can get it cleanly removed and just get much better dynamics. You don't want to cut into the noise part of the snare, right? Because that's the part that you actually hear. I like your transition there. With this high energy, I would put the offbeat hi-hat here. Have that extra bit of power that you get from the offbeat. from that offbeat open hi-hat. I'm glad you like my apartment, Raphael. Apartment. Overall, very good on the sound design. I really like the vibe that you're going for here. Best way to get rid of that snare peak would be a clipper. You can do it in mastering as well, yes, with a clipper. That's going to take rid of that peak. I personally like to just remove the transient of the snare entirely because you don't need it and then you don't have to worry about that. And it's just going to be overall a little bit cleaner on the master if you don't have to go into peaks like that, if you can avoid it. And this is an easily avoidable peak because it just reoccurs every time the snare plays on the kick, right? So you can just do a little bit of an operation, maybe even set something like an LFO tool, just to kind of remove that very, very first part of the transient so that it no longer combines together. And then right after the kick transient stops, so after like a little bit of kick transient, then it's just going to be the snare noise kind of taking over that high frequencies and you don't have to worry about that anymore. Either way, very good track. How many do we still have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next up is Hypoxia with Arcade Psy 333 Master 16-bit. Bit of offset maybe. I personally don't like it because then you get a very strange kind of rhythm, strange kind of flow. I just like a little bit of attack to the snare. And honestly, with the arrangement here, I wouldn't go for another break here. I would just continue with the kick and bass and maybe start over again if you want to. You know what I mean? Where you go up with the drums and then you go to a high point and you just go back to kick and bass and then slowly build it up again in the same drop, as opposed to just doing that once. And then just fade it out a little bit earlier. Maybe you have some filters that you don't know of that could be causing it, I don't know. What do you think about layering the bass for stereo? Personally, when it comes to stereoizing my bass, I always go for M stereo spread, just on the main bass itself. And then I just make sure that the lowest frequency is set high enough, and I tune this and the overall spread as well as the focus until I get the exact sound that I want. But I really like this plugin on basslines. It's a really good stereoizing tool for basslines. I don't personally like to use layers because they introduce another layer of things that you have to align and things that you have to mix in, as opposed to just doing it in here, which is a little bit easier in my opinion. On the same channel as the main bass, yes, this is just like an insert effect on your main bass, and then you just tweak it until you get the right stereo wave. I usually go not too big out here, right? You don't want something that looks like this, but you also don't want a fully mono line. You just want a little bit of extra, maybe not even that much. Just something that looks like this in terms of the stereo field. And with this particular plugin, it's really easy to get because this just seems to do the trick well on bass. You just have to set this number properly, and then you can play with the focus a little bit. That kind of changes the tonality, and also the number that you set here is going to depend on this setting here. So make sure that you set this first. You determine the minimum and the maximum frequency that you want to affect with your stereoizing. I would recommend between at least over 200 with the high pass, and sometimes you can even lower the low pass if you don't want too much stereoizing on your transient. If you want to keep a bit more transient power, you can go to maybe, I don't know, 5K, 4K, something like that. And then you just set this number appropriately and just hear that on ear to get the kind of tonality that you want for your bass line. Anyway, next up is Orca by Orin, and this is a work in progress. Starting off strong. I do like that you linked your kick and bass. It could have a bit more sub though, your bass line. And the snares are very loud. I would lower those snares. A few more other effects maybe as well. That atmosphere is also very piercing towards the ears. Something flew against my window, but it's on the inside. Now there's bass. Look at this. I would like the vocals to be a bit more present so that you can hear a little bit more what they say. It's very much a lot of the same again. I was hoping a new synth would play here, but it's just the same atmosphere again. A very powerful kick. I do agree that it's a very well produced what you have. I just think it's a little bit on the minimal side and that it's the same thing over and over again. We're now going into the 4th drop, so I hope there's something new coming actually. It's the same kind of offbeat atmosphere again. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go with so much of the same elements. You don't need hundreds of stuff changing, but you need at least more than one thing. And I think it's the same idea for 4 drops in a row now. Right? So in the 3rd drop, for example, I would recommend using something like an acid line. So that you just have this one difference, right? This is a very good track though. I do really like what you do have. Final thing I'll say is maybe a little bit more stereo on the mid-range of your kick. Anyway, next up is Histro, who has sent already 3 projects. I'm going to listen to... one is drum and bass. Okay, I'll listen to one drum and bass project of his, and then 2 sidetrance projects, and then not many more projects. Because I don't want to go on for too long, because I actually have some other work to do as well. Who was that last track made by? It's Orin. This track right here in the feedback on stream, Orin. This track here, Orca. So next up is the project that never going to be finished by man who isn't a DMB artist. No mix, no master. 172 BPM C. Sounds like some experimental sound design already. Not really a fan of the kick here. It sounds very boxy here.
Cut the mid-range, drop the bass.
bit strange in terms of the rhythm and the fact that it's just a saw wave playing the main bass. Sounds like you forgot to sound design your main bass here. The kick is already better, it doesn't have that boxiness anymore that it had before.
The mid-range.
Hello Nomad. We just listened to one of your tracks before. It was very good. Yes, you are late. I started over 2 hours ago, 2.5 hours ago now in the stream. But that's okay, you can watch it back if you want. I don't know if it's the lack of modulation. It sounds like there's a patch missing on your main bass that is just a saw wave. I don't know if it's that, but overall I feel like the rhythm is really confusing. Maybe there is a patch missing and it's supposed to work well together, but it feels a little bit off. It feels a little bit like things are happening randomly. And again, it can be the fact that there's a patch missing, that if there was the modulation that it needs to have, that it would be good. Overall, your sound design is really strong though. Also here, there's that small bell there that doesn't really work with the other rhythms. So in terms of the rhythm, there's not much cohesion between the elements. Anyway, the track itself is really good and the mix was very nice. It sounded nice. And the sound design, as I said, was very good. I just think that arrangement-wise and just overall placing the elements in the correct rhythm-wise, there could be some improvement there. Is that sound about right? 120 BPM in F by Man Who Isn't an Artist, another high-tech track of his. He makes a lot of tracks. Every feedback's stream, he has like 2 or 3 tracks ready.
Culture.
What kind of drugs were you taking?
Yeah. Legal drugs.
What kind of drugs?
Yeah. Legal drugs.
What does that mean?
Drugs you get from a prescription.
Tell us one. Look in the camera. Tell us, what was the drug?
Not a fan of the bass line. I think it needs to be more clicky, more transient, and be cleaned. Of course, the kick as well. I don't like the rhythm of this sound either, the FM sound here. This section is nice, I like this. Sorry, I was at the dentist. It's not an excuse. Just kidding, you can do whatever you want. Thanks for the feedback, you're welcome. Glad you like it. Feels a little bit messy in the low end here. I think that is partially the cleaning and maybe just the fact that it's so fast and that just kind of naturally happens. Maybe the bass has a little bit too much sub. One of the things that I notice is that there's a pretty big disconnect between all of your tracks, because every fill you just stop, right? All of the elements just kind of stop here, and then it just goes, okay, new thing happening. There's nothing that kind of transitions into the new section. You hear there's a lot of pauses in your track. And here, for example, you have all of the high energy drum elements, but none of the synths. So it feels like you forgot to sound design the synth for this part.
How many LSD trips? How many LSD trips have you taken?
Looks like how many times have we made love? You know?
Well, they say you've taken 600 LSD trips.
Maybe.
Does that sound about right?
Could be.
Do you think you've lost any of your brain power? I'm seriously. I mean, do you think you've suffered any brain damage as a result of that?
Yeah, I think I'm one of the smartest people on the planet today. I'm writing 2 or 3 books a year.
Right.
I'm giving lectures. I'm very well received.
You're also being
I
arrested.
admit that I must be stupid. I must be brain damaged.
I like this. Yeah, I'm not a fan of all of the fills, all of the different sections doing the same thing where it just stops the sound one beat every time in the exact same way, and there's nothing that transitions into the next section. I know in high-tech the transitions are a little bit hard because the sound design is so crazy. But not having a transition whatsoever every time just doesn't seem like the solution to me, to be honest.
Why would you need drugs?
What do I mean by transitions? Just if you have 2 sections, the way that you're going between one section to the next, that's the transition. Can be sweeps, can be other effects, can be using the synths, using the automations. Everything together combines into the transition of that particular part of the track. You know what I mean? Right now in terms of transition, it's just nothing, right? It just stops and then the kick and bass starts to appear again, and that's always the same. You can do that once or twice in a track. It's actually a nice effect to do in the track, you know, that cutout where you just cut out all of the sound for a little bit and then you bring it back. But having it every time the exact same, that's not, in my opinion, the best approach. Anyway, next up we have Control 4 with Magnetar.
Assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control.
Nomad, I already listened to I Just Wanna, so I'm going to actually skip that. We already listened to that track. You made a track by 8 sections, you make the track by 8 bar sections, right? I can see that, because it was definitely more than 8 sections in total making the track. It's sections from 8 bars, I imagine. If you're going to do your kick and bass so dark into the kick and bass playing, I would lower the volume of the part where it's filtered, so that it has more impact when the kick and bass actually starts being the actual kick and bass.
Harmony.
Nice kind of old school vibe. Good vocal mix. Kick and bass could be cleaner. Kick as well. So resample your bass line. I think the kick is okay. The kick itself doesn't need resampling, but the bass is pushing against the kick. Here there was double kicks and layered on top of a bass line. You don't want to do that. I would love to have that new melody that you just introduced play a little bit more up front. That one. Because it started to become a bit boring, and then I was like, yes, we have a new element. But then it almost immediately jumped in the background and it just kind of stayed there. Now it's coming back. I would like it to be a little bit more up front throughout this section here. There again, you would need to clean up. Obviously, you don't want to layer kick and bass on top of each other. And you want to resample. If you're doing the kicks like that, you also want to make sure that they are fading out and that there's no issues with them rolling into each other. Again, watch my ultimate guide to learn more. Overall, I really like this vibe. It's a nice old school vibe. You have some good percussions in there as well. Here with this new lead, you already introduced it over the last part, and that kind of removes the surprise here. This lead would be a lot more powerful if it didn't play before a little bit filtered, and it just kind of comes in at the last second and then it takes over completely and it becomes its own section. Again, with those kicks, if you're doing that, remove the bassline. Make sure that they fade out nicely. Nice effect there. I like that. Suddenly this vocal towards the end, that's a bit strange. We haven't had that vocal all the way. And suddenly it's there. Also towards the end, some of the elements are a bit on the loud side, I would say. Anyway, still very good track. Next up is Boring Shit, 124 BPM G sharp by man who isn't an artist. Again, no mix, no master. So it's just going to be some very fast high tech again. What a strange effect. Clean up your kick and bass, resample your bass line, and then fade out properly. Some very experimental sound design on this one. It's the same kind of thing with the transitions always being the same. It's just, it stops for one beat and then it just goes on. You resample them on both tracks. Okay. Are you using significant amount of filters after that? Like at your when you're mastering, do you use some filters? Do you use some multiband processes? Because that can be an issue as well. Right, we're resampling because we want to basically eliminate any of the post-stringing introduced by filters. If we then filter again, we're going to get new post-stringing. Even there we had a fill that was a little bit longer, but it was still empty. I'm not a fan of that in just all of the pauses all the time. It just becomes boring after a while. Maybe you didn't give it enough of a fade out then? Because I did think that looking at it, the bass line, I cannot really check here because of all of the stuff happening on top of it. Maybe later in a more empty section. Yeah, you can see that this is just completely transitioning into the next bass note. You want this to kind of go to silence and then the next bass note to play. So that's what you're looking for when you're fading out. You don't want it to kind of morph into the next bass note. You want it to go to silence, then the next bass note should play. Kind of what you're doing with the kick here. Even the kick could have a little bit more space right before the transient. Again, a very empty fill. Not a massive fan of the massive jump that you're doing with the bass here in terms of going up an octave. Just going up a little bit, just like a few notes is in my opinion a bit better instead of the entire octave. As good as your sound design is, it's a little bit confusing because it's strangely structured and all your fills are very boring. You're not doing a lot of different things with the fills, you're always having them the same length. You can make a few that are a bar long, you can make a few that are maybe 2 bars long, you can make a few that are very short. You don't have to have a fill every exact 8 bars, you can do sometimes 16, sometimes you can do 24 bars between the fills. Just overall the arrangement is very strange. And that kind of detracts from the very cool sound design that you're doing. Which is actually really good. I do really like your sound design. It's chaotic all over the place, but it's in this case it does work well with the rhythm of the track itself, which is something we discussed before. I remember one of your tracks had like conflicting rhythms with each other. I also think this bass line is a bit too open. It can use the filter cutoff can close a little bit faster. It can close a little bit more aggressively. So just make the envelope a little bit closer. Those are some of the tips that I would give you. Last track for today. This is JRB or Shepo in memory of Goagil. This is 24 Hours in the Forest. It is a bit long. It is 10 minutes long, but that's okay. Bass could be a bit louder. I like your sound design, I like your minimalism. Yeah, I still think here also the bass line could be a bit louder. It is nice and cleaned up. You can see it kind of going down before the kick and before the other bass note, so that's well done. It gets louder. I want it louder now. I want it now. No, it's just in my opinion, here the bass line is just too quiet. Like give it 2 more dB and then it's okay.
Roll the bass.
Nicholas, if you place it here in feedback on stream, we'll close out with your track. Don't post it in feedback, don't post it in stream discussion. Feedback on stream is the right channel. When you're doing the kick fills there, you need to make sure that you resample each one of them and fade them out properly. That's also, it's an annoying thing that you have to do that, but that's just going to keep the punch in every transient. Otherwise some of them get smushed by the tail of the previous kick. Here it was actually nice, so here it was okay. I think I just saw it in the waveform of the other one, or maybe there's something else, introducing some low frequencies or something like that. Here what happened is that the filter opens right on the kick transient, so the first kick transient doesn't have any high frequencies. I will personally open the filter right before the kick. Here, I think the Reese bass is a little bit loud. You can turn it down by 2-3 dB. Doesn't need to be that loud. Maybe a tad more variation. I do agree, yes. Although this is part of the style of his. Here again, I think there was not cleaned up. Maybe have a look at that. Maybe it's just one that you forgot. It looked like the tails of the kicks were overlapping with the transients a bit. Here I would also low pass the kick. If you're low passing the bass, I would also low pass the kick here. Here you have that Reese bass, so that's going to cause issues. I would turn it down, and maybe you have to sidechain it to the kick here, since you're also doing the kick. You cannot have both of them playing at the same time. Kind of annoying that things just kind of randomly stop there. I would have loved it to continue into the drop. Especially seeing as you're using the same theme here with the flute, which I do agree with. I think that's a really nice flute, so I would use it in the drop as well. Very nice. Final track by Killer Gaming YouTube. No Basics by Ax High Murali. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that very poorly. But this is No Basic High Tech 180 BPM. We'll end off with some high tech, and then that's going to be it for the stream today. Very long kick for high tech. Definitely not a cleaned up kick and bass. I hope that I can see it a little bit more isolated later, so you can have a look at the waveform, but you can hear that it has that overlapping zoom kind of feeling to it. Also, the kick and bass could be a little bit louder, especially in regards to the vocal. Some of the other synths are a little bit on the quiet side, but that vocal is a little bit on the loud side actually. Yeah, you can see there's just massive overlap everywhere. The kicks are being messed up, you can see it. So you need to resample your bass line and probably also resample your kick, and then chop them up, have proper fading in, fading out. Not so much the fade in, but mainly the fade outs that are important. And then just section off for each note its own little section. Overall, the tonality is there. The vocals could use some delay and reverb. They sound very dry. Also, when you're doing kick fills like that, just remove the bass from there. With your kick being that long, it's not going to matter in terms of losing any sub. And it's just a lot cleaner when you're doing the double kick and bass, stuff like that. Anyway, great track, nice production. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream and that you learned something. This is going to be it. It's just a little bit of a shorter one. I did need to do some other things. Obviously, I didn't arrange for this. I was going to do this stream on Sunday, but we had some connection issues. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the feedback and it was useful. And I hope to see you guys next Sunday, or maybe before then if I decide to stream before then. Bye bye, guys.